I'm going to do that all over because I don't know if the timer ran out, so I'm just going to do chapter 20, verse 21. Well, then the angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand and touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and the fire rose out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread, and the angel of the Lord depart out of his sight. Verse 22. Then now Gideon perceived that perceived it that he was the angel of the Lord. So Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. Verse 23. Then the Lord said to him, Peace be with you. Do not fear, you shall not die. Verse 24. So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord and call it the Lord is peace. To this day it is still in.
How to pronounce Ophrah.
Ophrah of the
How to pronounce Abiezrite.
Asbury is bright. Asbury is bright. Verse 25. Now it came to pass the same night that the Lord said to him, Take your father's young bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image that he beside it. Verse 26. And build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock, and prepare arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. Verse 27. So Gideon Gibeon. Yeah, Gibeon. Gibeon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Lord had said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the man of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. Verse 28. And when the man of the city rose early in the morning, there was the altar of Baal torn down, and the wooden image that was beside it was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. Verse 29. So they said to one another, Who has done this thing? And when they had inquired and asked, they said, Gideon, the son of
Jewish.
Joash, has done this thing. Verse 30. Then the man of the city said to Joash, Bring out your son, that he may die, because he had torn down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it. But, verse 31, but
Jewish.
Joash said to all who stood against him, Would you plead for Baal? would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because his author has been torn down. Verse 32. Therefore, on that day he called him
How to pronounce Jerubbaal.
Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal plead against him, because he had torn down his author. Verse 33. Then all the Midianites and oh my God. Amalekites, the people of the east, gathered together, and they crossed over the encamped in the valley of
With a rare genetic disease, I rely on Medicaid. I've spent 800 nights in the hospital and take 20 plus medications. But Rob Bresnahan voted to cut Medicaid after he sold stock in Medicaid providers. He does not care about his sick constituents.
We are looking at how to pronounce this name, as well as how to say more interesting, related, and some of the most mispronounced biblical names as well. So make sure to stay tuned and consider subscribing for more learning. How do you say it? There are two slightly different but correct ways of saying it, either as
Jezreel. Verse 34. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon. Then he blew the trumpet, and the
Abby's right.
Abarites gathered behind him. Verse 35. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also gathered behind him. He also sent messengers to Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. Verse 36. Oops. So Gideon said to God, If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. Verse 37. Look, I shall put a fleece of wool on the thrashing floor. If there is dew on the fleece only, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. Verse 38. And it was so, when he rose early the next day morning, and squeezed the flat fleece together, he wrung the dew out of the fleece